Hi, so you might be wondering how you can avoid vocal fatigue when singing so that you can sing for hours and hours and hours on end without feeling any tension or hoarseness. Well, in this episode, I got you covered with practical techniques to overcome vocal fatigue so that when you're singing a set list of 2 hours or a choir rehearsal of 2 hours, your voice doesn't give up. Let's dive into it. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm the founder of the Singing Insiders, in which I help passionate singers just like yourself become the best version of themselves through singing. And in these episodes, you're going to get tips, techniques, insights, tools to really help you up-level your singing skills. So let's dive into it and look at how you can overcome vocal fatigue. Now, in order to truly get this, it's really important to understand that many beginner singers, they believe that tension or hoarseness, well, that's a normal thing. Many beginner singers that start singing, they feel that tension or that hoarseness coming up after singing for quite some time. And then they think, oh, that's just normal. Tomorrow will be better, or tomorrow the hoarseness will be gone. Now, what trained singers really know for truth is that tension or hoarseness is actually a sign of your body that tells you that you're doing something wrong, whether that's a wrong type of voice use, maybe a wrong type of vocal technique, maybe you're overdoing something with your voice. Tension and hoarseness is a sign that something's not right, and that something is what we need to discover and look at. So first, we're going to look at ways in which we can avoid vocal fatigue altogether, so that you know how to avoid it, and some common practices that you can put in place. Then we're going to look at, okay, if you do feel that vocal fatigue, well, what can you do to help you in those moments? So first, we're going to look at how to avoid it. Then we're going to look at what can we do if you do end up feeling that fatigue in your voice. So the first thing that you can do to really avoid any type of vocal fatigue is doing a vocal warm-up. I know it sounds so obvious, and all the things that I will cover today might sound obvious to you, and that's okay. My invitation to you is to really look at, how am I implementing this? Because it's one thing to know about a certain concept, it's a whole other game to actually implement it. And how do you implement it? Do you implement it consistently, or just once in a while, here and there, whenever you feel like it or have the time? So look at your current singing situation and your current voice use and ask yourself the question, am I warming up? And with that, I also want to add cool down. So warming up your voice makes sure that your vocal cords are ready to do some heavy singing. Doing a vocal cool down acts as a stretch for the vocal cords to release any build-up tension or anything that might be present that we don't want to have present, so that that hoarseness doesn't come up. So a vocal warm-up and a vocal cool down is number one on the list. That being said, a second thing that you can look at, obviously, is your vocal technique. It's one thing to sing and use your voice. It's a whole other game that you're playing when you know exactly what vocal techniques to use to really be able to make your voice sound how you want it to sound. So if you're part of the Singing Insiders, this is easy for you. We have a vocal workout library where you can just sing through all those exercises. And you have the warm-ups as well. So just sing through the warm-ups, then sing through the mixed voice vocal workout to really practice getting those vocal techniques into your muscle memory. Because that's ultimately the goal. That we don't necessarily have to think on a conscious level about all those different techniques like breath support, like mixed voice, like twang and bite. We don't want to be thinking about those things when we're singing in public, whether that's on stage or in choir. We just want to be singing, right? So we need to be able to really rely on that muscle memory. And you do that by repetition. So that's why those vocal workouts are really amazing. So that's the second thing. First, warm up. 2, vocal technique, and get that into your muscle memory. The third thing that I would suggest is being strategic about what you're singing. So depending on the context, you might have more say in this or not. We'll see. But imagine that you will sing on stage for 2 hours with your band. You have a say in your set list. My suggestion or my way of working is that I write down all the songs that I want to sing. And then I write the intensity level of my voice use. So maybe one song requires a lot of belting and a high dynamics, so a high level of singing, high intensity singing. That for me would be like a 9.5. And then another song might include, softness and intimacy within the voice. That for me would be a lower level intensity song, so maybe a 2 or a 3. So once you have all those, and just to clarify, high intensity singing does not always equal loud and fast songs. Sometimes even a ballad that is super slow can be a high intensity song. So we're really looking at the intensity that it takes from your voice, not necessarily the tempo or the dynamics within the song. So once you have this scale, on a scale from 1 to 10, or that number of intensity, now you get to choose, where am I putting my high intensity songs? Where am I putting my low intensity songs? So do you want to start with a high intensity song, or do you want to end with a high intensity song? Do you want to put 3 high intensity songs right after another? I don't know, up to you, obviously, but being strategic in when you're singing what will be very beneficial, and alternating between, now I'm using my voice at a high intensity and now I'm stepping back, releasing, and then I keep on moving. Now, if you have less decision power, let's say, in this process, maybe you're singing in a choir, and obviously the choir director might have chosen the set list for that evening, then it's interesting for yourself to identify, okay, this song for me is high intensity, this song is high intensity, this song is difficult when this song is sang before that. So know that for yourself so that you can mentally prepare when that song comes, so that you activate your awareness towards your vocal technique. We're going to talk about that even more during the second half of this episode. But so even if you cannot change the set list, being prepared regarding what's coming, that will get you in your power. Another thing that you can do to avoid vocal fatigue really is SOVT. That stands for semi-occluded vocal tract. In other words, back pressure, right? SOVT sounds, there's different tools. Think about the straw, a singing straw. LaxVox is another tool, the SOVT trainer. There are many different tools that you can use. Some SOVT sounds are, right, lip trills, all those things. So what happens? In a nutshell, we're singing, so there's air coming out of my mouth. By doing my lip trill, by blowing on a straw, there will be a little bit of air coming back in. So we got air going out, air coming back in, and those two streams of air, they kind of find each other right where my vocal cords are. And that will release, that will massage my vocal cords, that will make it the optimal singing position for my vocal cords. So doing SOVT exercises are amazing to overcome vocal fatigue, whether you do them on breaks, whether you do them in your warm-ups, in your vocal cool-downs, maybe when you wake up in the morning, starting off the day with some kind of SOVT sounds or tools are an amazing way to overcome vocal fatigue. The last thing that you can do is use vocal fry. This is one I use all the time. Vocal fry is this kind of sound. Ah. And basically what it does is it makes the vocal cords come together, but super, super relaxed and released. So I lead a choir of about 80 singers, and oftentimes after 2 hours, it's a pretty intense 2 hours because obviously you're speaking in front of that group of people, and it is tiring on the voice. So oftentimes when they are singing, I'm just playing the piano, accompanying them, and then doing my vocal fry inside my mouth. And then I say, great, amazing, let's go to measure 22, right? Now, in the band, I do that too. So imagine you're singing, you have the microphone in front of your mouth, and then suddenly there's a guitar solo. Well, take the mic away, do some vocal fry while the guitar solo is going. You can even smile and look at the guitarist and then keep on singing. So there are different ways in which you can include the vocal fry throughout your voice use, whatever it is, in the choir, on stage, karaoke, right? So the 5 things that you can do to avoid vocal fatigue in a nutshell are a warm-up and a cool-down, working on your vocal technique and getting them into your muscle memory, being strategic about your set list or know what's coming up and then prepare yourself for that, SOVT exercises, and vocal fry. Now imagine that you have done all those things and you still feel your voice being tired, being a little bit hoarse, and having a lot of tension. Then the question is, well, what can we do about that? Now, if this for you has been of great value so far, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel so that you keep on being updated about episodes just like this one's coming out in the future. Now, that being said, the most important things actually have to come up still, because once you do feel that vocal fatigue, what can you do about it? Well, again, there are some things that might sound super simple, but again, I invite you to look at your own vocal practice and look at, how am I implementing this? I might know about this concept, but how do I implement this concept? And the first one is vocal rest. Duh, it might sound so logic, but I've worked with so many singers and they're hoarse because they have done, maybe some singing the day before. And then they talk to me like, hey, Maggie, oh my God, it was amazing. My voice feels horrible, but I keep on singing. And today I'm going out with friends and I cannot wait to tell them all about the performance. And then I'm like, whoa, this doesn't make sense. Your voice is hurting. Let's give it some rest. Don't go out with your friends, or go out, but maybe, make sure that you're taking care of your voice in the process. And don't scream like that when you're explaining everything. Be mindful of your voice use, right? So it might sound so logic that when your voice is hoarse, that you're using it in a conscious way and ideally resting it, giving it the right type of rest. And oftentimes we just don't do it. So I had to mention it here. A second thing that you can do when you do feel that vocal fatigue is to do some kind of vocal reset. And we already talked about this briefly, but SOVT exercises and vocal fry exercises are amazing tools and techniques that you can use to reset the voice. And when we're using SOVT exercises, we're aiming for a low back pressure. Not a high back pressure, but a low back pressure. So vocal rest, vocal reset. A third thing that you can look at is vocal hydration. Vocal hydration is more than just drinking water. Water is amazing. Keep drinking your water. And you can add that, especially when you're hoarse. Oftentimes your vocal cords are a little bit dehydrated. So you can add a little bit extra hydration by steaming or nebulizing, for example. And then the last thing that you can do when you're feeling that vocal fatigue come up and you really have to sing, again, might sound obvious, but I invite you to notice, how am I implementing this? And that goes back to technique. An example, I worked with a singer who performs regularly, and he said at one point, my voice was just gone. I don't know what I did, but my voice was gone, and I still had half the set list to go. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Well, I'm curious to hear what happens, but how did it end? Like, how did you continue? And he said, well, just by focusing on vocal technique and being mindful of my breath, or being mindful of where I would sing in chest voice versus head voice or mixed voice, being able to focus on that has helped me through the second half of the set. Like, suddenly my voice could perform again. So isn't that interesting? All by just focusing on technique. So technique is a good thing to prepare so that you can avoid vocal fatigue. But once it's there and you still need to be doing some singing, then really focusing on that is the key. So again, I invite you to look at all those things you probably know that I said. So I invite you to look at, how are you implementing that? Are you doing a warm-up? Are you doing a vocal cool-down? Are you working on your vocal technique so that it gets into your muscle memory? Are you being strategic about your set list? Are you using SOVT or vocal fry exercises? Are you resting your voice when it needs to? Are you doing any kind of vocal reset exercises? Are you mindful of your vocal hydration? All those things matter. And as you can see from this conversation, technique is a huge part of the bigger piece of the puzzle. Technique is one of the most important elements throughout your singing journey. And one of the most important vocal techniques to really master is your mixed voice. We talked a little bit about registers today, and I want to keep this conversation going because it's an important one to have. Mixed voice allows you to sing anything you want, whether that's the high notes or the low notes, with lots of power and without tension or hoarseness. Now, the catch here is that mixed voice is not an easy technique. You need to have the step-by-step guidance to really understand what it is and how to implement it. So I want to keep this conversation going with you, and my invitation to you is to check out the episode that I linked in the description here down below, all about mixed voice, because that will take that conversation further so that we can keep this going. So I will link to it in the description here down below. My invitation is for you to check out that episode after having listened to this one. Now, thank you so much for having been here. I really appreciate you. I look forward to see you on that next episode. And if not, then I look forward to see you here again next week for next week's episode. Thank you so much. Talk soon. Bye.